Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are moving into part 3 of The Way of Kings. We read Interlude 6, which is called A Work of Art. We read chapters 29 and 30, and we're going to discuss those, wherein we revisit Szeth and see what he's gotten up to since the last time. Then we check in on Shallan and Yasna and their scholarship, see how that's going, and then we revisit Kaladin as he has finally gotten the bridge crew to follow him, and we find out how that's going. So I'm Data, and with me this week is
Jamie,
Jack, and Joe.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, I feel like we're, other than the Szeth chapter, which is its own sort of thing, I feel like we're building our way back into part 3 with these chapters. What did you guys think of these 3 chapters?
I really liked these. I think they all had some nice little nugget in them for us and some nice little twist. I really liked in Szeth's chapter the twist that his mark was already assassinated, and then it sounds pretty dramatic where he's walking into now. So I'm excited to see where his journey goes. I'm sad that it might have to wait to another interlude to figure out what happens next for him. I'm hoping that his path will cross with some names that we know soon, so that we kind of get an update on him before the next lot of interludes would be good. Yasna and Shallan, I like where their relationship's kind of at. It's only sort of 2 months in for them, but for her to be stealing the soul caster, it sounds like it's going to be a really hard task for her now, because she really is getting something out of being Yasna's ward. And then, of course, the little bit with her drawing when she's not really focusing on what she's doing and draws something in the way, that's a nice little dangle of the carrot for us to go and figure out what's going on with her. That's pretty cool. And we got Gaz's point of view. I think we only spoke about it maybe last time or the time before, that we hadn't really seen in his head. So it's kind of interesting to see how much he does kind of need Kaladin's money, and that's sort of a beneficial relationship for him. So, yeah, but also the work that Kaladin's doing with the crew, and like you've got Gaz going, literally they are to die. Like they're a distraction. They're the bait. And now you've got Kaladin standing there trying to protect the bait. It's not going to go particularly well, but I'm hoping that Gaz will have a heart at some point and, not take him out, but we'll see. It's not looking promising. I mean, I think he'll be fine, but it's not looking promising that he won't try and kill him soon, but we'll see how we go. But overall, we're good chapters. Nice to see Shallan again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, and Kaladin doesn't realize it, but he's in like this lose-lose situation where it's like either he'll fail to protect his people, or if he does protect his people, it probably won't go as well as he thinks it will. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, that's it. Like he already had to win over the crew, but then on the other side, no one's rooting for him. So he's really alone. Scary spot to be in.
Yeah. And I love that I agree with you. Like, what's going on with Szeth? This is interesting stuff. But I love that you're just like, I hope he crosses paths with like the people that we're following, except that we've now learned that he's being sent to assassinate some of the most important people in the world. So if he crosses paths with any of the stories that we have going, it's probably not going to be good for characters that we know.
Well, maybe there's characters we know that we don't like, that we would be happy enough to be assassinated.
That's true. That's Sadeas.
Come on, Sadeas.
I was going to say he was the top of my list, but I have a feeling that maybe we're still supposed to trust him and maybe he shouldn't be assassinated. But we'll see how we go.
That's a good point. There could be important people that we don't like. So, yeah, all right. I'll go with it.
And I'm sure at least 50% of that list is names that we've heard of, but we don't know those characters yet. It's a lot of book to go through still.
I mean, how many important people do we know? We know the King of Alethkar. We know some of the High Princes. There's like 10 of these High Princes, so we don't even know all of them. We've never met like the leaders of most other countries. I guess we met the King of Kharbranth, but other than that, like there's a lot of countries in the world, and so
Well, that's it. And we don't know who's actually behind the list, so we'll have to just see.
That's true. If it could be an important person behind the list, and then they wouldn't put themselves on that list.
Well, no, but it's depending on who's behind the list. The target list changes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Sadeas's list. That would be a twist.
That would be a twist. Would he, if Sadeas was putting the list together, would he put Dalinar on that list? We were just discussing last time whether he wants Dalinar dead or not.
Maybe too obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, these were good. I'm just happy to see Szeth again. Like, I love that guy. He's the best. I want to see more of him always, all the time. So yeah, like I guess the implications there, we're gonna see more of him possibly. We've seen inside his head, but we've seen sort of vaguely what other people think of him as well as this like this thing of legend. So I like the idea that he might show up. We won't see inside his head, but he'll show up in someone else's chapters, and they'll just be like, "Oh my god!" It's like, it's like Godzilla coming into someone's life, and you're just seeing like this famed thing of murder and chaos just showing up in your life and going, "Oh shit!" So I really want to see that. I like the King of Kharbranth. Like his conversation with Shallan and Jasnah was probably the most fun I had in their chapter. He seems like a decent enough dude, so he's probably going to die. And yeah, in Kaladin's chapter, every time Moash shows up, I'm just like, you make my skin crawl for some reason. I don't like you. Something about this guy is really just setting me off. And I know he openly says just like, I don't even like you. Why are you making me a captain? And so it's setting it up to like, oh yeah, Kaladin's going to win him over and win his trust. I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's going to look that way, and then Moash is going to pull the rug out. So we'll see, but I don't like Moash.
I mean, he's been a jerk nonstop since we met him. So, although to be fair, the first time we met him, like Kaladin punches him in the stomach and hauls him outside. So,
Yeah.
Also, we found out he's like buddies with Gaz or something because he was like, "Oh yeah, Gaz says blah blah blah." So we don't like fucking Gary. So I get it.
Yeah.
Although, as Jamie pointed out, we get a Gaz perspective here. So maybe that changed some opinions on old Gary.
Nope.
Nope.
Nah, he still seems like a prick.
Yeah, still don't like him, but he just has a story now.
Yeah. It's tough having one eye, apparently. Who would have thought?
All right. Well, these chapters, they're chapters, let me tell you. Szeth, it's kind of depressing at the end, honestly. I like Szeth. I think we all kind of like Szeth. Which should we like Szeth? That's another question, because it's like, he killed the king. So I don't know how we should feel about Szeth, but
he kills lots of people, apparently.
Yeah, he does kill lots of people. You feel bad for him. He's kind of trapped in this dude who's trying to become like a crime boss, but he's like, at least this isn't anything that affects the world in a major way. And then these guys show up and they're like, oh, get ready to affect the world in a major way. And he's like, oh man, this is the opposite of what I wanted. And so you feel for the guy. I feel for him. I don't want him to have to kill a bunch of people he doesn't want to kill, or actually has feelings about killing just because of what it would do to the world at large. But I feel like when you kill a king, you can't stay invisible forever. Somebody's gonna, especially if they find out like you're this dude that like all they have to do is get this rock and then they can make you do whatever they want. It's like that's definitely scary. So little apprehensive about what's going to happen with Szeth. And then we've got Shallan. Yeah, I kind of agree with Jamie. It's like you hate to like she's now got to do this task that she's been charged with from her family to do, but she's actually like forming a relationship with Jasnah. Jasnah's actually taking the ward thing seriously, trying to like teach her. She's rubbing shoulders with all these people that like her. It's a difficult position to be in for her, for sure. We got the weirdness of her having like seeing creepy dudes, and then we got Kaladin, who seems like things are on the up and up, but with the stuff in the background with Gaz, I just feel like we're in for some chop. It's not going to be, it's not going to keep going well for the poor guy. Unfortunately, we thought he was maybe about to turn the corner, but I don't see that lasting for very long based on what's going on. So
I like the phrasing there. We're in for some chop.
Yep.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So like, I don't know where we're going. I'll probably form an opinion as we're talking about it, and then I'll have something for predigments, but it's not good.
It's funny with Kaladin because we started out, well, I guess at the very beginning it was like, oh, Kaladin's awesome. And then within that same episode, it was like, oh, geez, life sucks for Kaladin. I mean, it's got to get better, right? And then it just got worse. And now it's like, oh, maybe things we're what percentage of the way are we through the book? We're about 45% of the way through the book when we start these chapters. So finally it's like, oh, it looks like maybe it's going to take an upswing finally. And it's just like, nope. I see the cliff coming. It's going to get worse again. Poor guy.
Yeah, he just can't win, He can't be Kaladin's day for once.
And everything's coming up Millhouse, not Kaladin.
Yeah, and you just feel for the guy. But maybe that day's coming, He's got magic fairy on his shoulder. He's got some kind of mystical powers. Has to at this point. Like, there's been so many clues. There's got to be some kind of magic going on. So, yeah, hopefully things will turn up.
Yeah, it turns out he's just a normal dude. No magic. It's weird, right?
He's one of the main characters, but he has no powers of any kind.
That we know of.
It's true.
I mean, we got a lot of like viewpoint characters in this book. They can't all end up being superheroes, can they?
Sure they can. Why not?
It's the Cosmere. There's literally powers like anyone can be made into a superhero.
Yeah. What kind of bullshit statement from our host is that?
Well, at the end of the first trilogy, we read like God literally turns Spook into like the greatest hero of them all.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
True. That's
this
true.
Guy, yeah, you got to remember old data. This guy reads from a card. He knows what's
Well, I'm just thinking about like, I don't even count like, because we got a viewpoint from Gaz here. Like that doesn't count. He's not a viewpoint character.
No, and it wasn't even. I don't count like when it switches midway to a character we've never heard inside of before. I don't count that as a viewpoint character. I feel like that's Brandon stretching his legs and being like.
So who do we got? We got Kaladin. We got Shallan. Szeth already has superpowers. We have.
He's not really a lead though. He just shows up every so often.
Oh, we don't know. Maybe he is a lead.
We have Dalinar and we have Adolin. Is that all of our like main view characters? So that's 4 guys who could pop up with some superpowers.
Yeah, I feel like there's not like a main viewpoint character that's in a prologue that doesn't end up being important in Brandon's books. So I feel like he's important.
Oh, important, sure, but he's not like there all the time. Like,
he
only shows up in the interludes.
The viewpoint character in the prologue for the Final Empire was like Goodman Menace or whatever.
I thought it was Kelsier. Is it not?
Oh, maybe it was Kelsier.
It was half and half.
It might have, yeah. Oh, hold on.
Nah, he's like, I gotta go
back to
Mistborn.
It's gonna bother me. I just remember we talked recently about it, about like Goodman Menace being the viewpoint, and so now I'm like, was that not right?
Oh, Goodman Menace. I think you're right. I think like up to the point where. Like, you start with the Lord guy.
Yeah, we start out with Tresting, and then we switch to Kelsier.
And then after the fire,
I think after the fire, it's Menace. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so there's 3 viewpoint characters, 2 of which do not end up being major because Tresting dies off screen, and Menace shows up.
Goodman Menace comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, well let's do this. Let's get into these chapters. We start out with a work of art. And once it's like you can't introduce Szeth without saying his whole thing. Szeth, son Volano, truthless of Shinovar, crouched on it, so he's hanging out.
Well, I mean, I can say his name without saying the whole thing because I don't remember the whole thing.
Not allowed. So basically, since we last saw Szeth, that guy who picked up his oath stone has become a bit of a crime lord. And uses Szeth to, kill off his enemies and to just generally intimidate people by like hanging out up on top of like a gargoyle in a big like cloak with a mask over his face, just to be like, yeah, watch out. Makek could have that guy come after you. And he says that his Shin eyes are too round and slightly too large, and people think they look like the eyes of a child. Why did that disturb them so? I mean, creepy children are some of the scariest. There's some guys doing drugs, fire moss that you rub between your fingers, which is one of the more straightforward methods for doing drugs. Much less invasive than having to shoot up, I guess. McKeck has got some gambling dens going, and this is one of them, just hanging out.
So this fire moss, they rub it between their fingers, and it somehow makes them feel euphoric. I feel like it's not. Go ahead.
It like blisters your fingers, so
right?
It's like smoke comes up. So I guess.
I don't know. It sounds almost more like the feeling that they're getting sounds almost more like it's a pain thing, not like a drug thing. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, it says at first but once you grow calluses, it could make you feel euphoric. So it seems like maybe a chemical reaction to me where you rub it and then it like burns you with whatever chemical is in the leaf, and then once your skin gets used to it, and it's no longer burning you. The chemical has a different effect as it gets into your system.
You just rub it on your side, and it slowly goes into your liver.
It makes me think of like all those. I don't think it's as big a thing anymore, but there used to be like bars where you would drink, but you're not actually drinking. It's like, they would serve vodka as like a flash of light, or like a whiskey lotion, like stuff like that. That's what it makes me think of.
That's
weird.
Unscientific.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It might be fiction. I might have seen that on a TV show. I don't remember.
Possibly.
That reminds me of like you can buy the caffeinated soap that you use in the morning to get your burst of caffeine.
What the shit?
Let me tell you, Dak,
don't drink coffee. Just take a shower.
Yeah, Americans are fucked up. I don't know.
I also like that he notes the ladies with the plunging necklines and their exposed safe hand, which the people here find very provocative. And he's like, I mean, it's just a hand, guys.
Scandalous.
But only the safe hand? Like the other hand is not as equally as provocative?
No, I guess not. It's like, you see the left or the right hand all the time. That left hand, though, who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly.
The greatest scandal in this country, they expose the safe hand and cover the other one.
Whoa.
That
sounds like America right there.
That's like the ultimate let them eat cake thing.
You know what it is? It's that like that safe hand never gets washed, so it's like all smells gross, and like it's not exfoliated, so there's all this dead skin just chilling out there. People are like, oh, it's so gross, but it's so hot.
Ew.
Got some
sounds
of that
pretty
safe
bad.
hand stank.
Yeah. That's my new lotion line, safe hand stank.
But it's weird because in these gambling halls, because they're Vorin, like you can't guess the future. That's bad. So the games are not like throwing dice or flipping cards. It's stuff like breakneck, which I don't know that we know what that is, and shallow crab fights. I guess picking the winner of the fight is not predicting the future. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't care about the crabs. Like that's not a future because the crabs are all going to die anyway, so you're not really predicting it.
I want to see what a shallow crab is and why they're the ones that you want to have fight.
I mean, crabs ahoy, am I right?
Yep, exactly. Yep. No, it was more like crab at the.
Crab at the.
Yeah.
And so it's like he's got his weird stuff about like not walking on stone and not using stormlight, but he's like, no, my weird stuff is normal. These people's weird stuff about like not wanting to guess the future and covering your left hand, they're the weirdos.
I think what we really are learning from this book is tolerance.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, he does think at one point, it's like, wait a minute, how can they not walk on stone? Yep. They don't have dirt.
Yeah, he's like, I guess I get it. Like, you don't have dirt, you don't have soil, you got to walk on stone. Can't really
make it. What are they supposed to do? Throw some stuff around? Walk on? You got to play like the floor is lava?
Yeah.
Just carry like a roll of carpet and like you unroll it, you walk to one end, then you roll it back up and you sweep it forward again.
Yeah. What you should really do is just say like, well, I have shoes on, so I'm not walking on the stone. I'm walking in my shoes. My shoes are on the stone.
Yeah, exactly. You're never on the stone.
Got it.
Technicality.
Yeah. And put some soil in your shoes if it makes you feel better. Like, I don't care what you do.
It's like Davy Jones and his bucket of water in those movies.
Yeah, exactly.
All the guys who were with him when McKeck found, when they killed, I forget what his old boss's name even was, drunken guy. McKeck has had Szeth kill all of them, so no one knows about the Oath Stone. And so everyone's like, oh man, if McKeck controls somebody this badass as Szeth, how badass must McKeck be, right?
Not very.
I feel like that's I feel like that's flawed reasoning.
Right? Yeah, I mean, maybe he just has lots of money. You don't know. And so then McKeck is sending him out to kill a new rival in town. Also, he's like, what's the point of covering my face? I'm the only Shin in town. Everyone knows who I am. But there's a new guy in town named Gavashaw who is trying to muscle in on McKeck's territory. And so Szeth is off to kill him. And the guy's at the City Lord's Manor because apparently the guy in charge of the city is backing this new guy so that he's not losing his power of the city to this crime lord.
Yeah, but then you're just gonna have to worry about that. You know what it is? It's that episode of The Simpsons where they bring in the things to eat the other things. It's
the
just
lizards
it's never ending.
To eat the yeah.
No,
the lizards are what they want to have eaten, right?
Right. Yeah. So they bring in frogs, and then the frogs have to be eaten by apes,
the needle snakes,
crazy.
And then you bring in bring in the gorillas to eat the snakes.
No,
and
that's the beautiful part. When winter
the
rolls around, we'll just wait for the apes to freeze to death.
Poor apes.
It's such an elegant plan. But yes, so we it's a long series of Szeth trying to sneak in. He doesn't want to have to kill anyone that he doesn't have to kill. So he's going to try to sneak in and just kill the one guy he's been sent for. McKeck doesn't care how overt or sneaky it is. He leaves that up to Szeth, and Seth's like, well, I choose not to murder people wantonly.
Yeah, McKeck is very much the guy's like, go kill that guy. All right, how do you want me to do it? What the fuck do I look like to you? Someone who thinks about things?
It's like, what, I got to do everything here? I got to come up with all the... You figure it out. Jeez.
McKeck really does seem like the guy from Futurama is like, what do I look like? It's a guy who's not lazy? He's that
you
guy
are lazy,
right?
Right?
Crime lord.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I do like the bit where he cuts a piece of stone out of the roof and then binds it to the sky and just zooms away, and then you hear it crash to the ground. He's like, man, I hope that didn't smash anybody. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
This section made me realize something. It's like that first chapter where we saw Szeth and he killed Gavilar, and we were all hyped on, man, this magic system is cool. I want to see more of it, and then it just hasn't shown up again. Is it a Shin magic system specifically, or is it just such a hidden system that not many people have it?
I mean, we know back in Elantris, it was each country had their own magic, maybe, or at the very least, it's Elantris magic was native to the area around Elantris, and then but it's no
one even talks about this.
Yeah, no one does. You are absolutely right. We haven't heard or seen anything.
And I think in the prologue, I thought, this Gavilar King guy knows how to do it too, but obviously that was not the case.
Yeah, we just assumed because he had a shard blade as well that he knew all the lashings, but nope, or at least if he didn't talk about it, and Dalinar never once said, oh yeah, Gavilar once stuck me to the roof.
No, I think in the prologue, Gavilar was thrown off by dude jumping on the ceiling to fight him.
Was he? I thought it was just the guards.
I don't think so. But we do find out that Szeth. We know that he can't kill, but he won't obey an order to kill himself. That's one of his rules, and his other one is he will not relinquish his shard blade. And if he is killed, the Shin stone shamans will recover the shard blade from whoever killed him. Which, if someone kills Szeth and takes the blade, they must be pretty badass. These stone shamans cool.
I want to know what their deal is, because they must be the badassest.
Right? Yeah, those are the ninjas of the Shin.
Well, what if he's being entirely literal and they're shamans made of stone?
Ooh, that would be intimidating.
It's
of course, shard blades can cut through stones, so
maybe they're the perfect blend of person and stone, so it doesn't cut them.
Oh,
or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I am Stone Man.
It's you just see this guy walking down the street. It's oh fuck yeah, I got this shiny new shard blade, and all of a sudden the ground just opens up around him, and all these rock monsters just stand up, just give it. It's no, and he goes to fight, and it's oh shit, I'm in trouble. And then he gets punted into a wall.
I do like the thought that he has about like he hopes that no one figures out like this Shin guy with a shard blade. He doesn't want people to find out about the shard blade, but rumors are starting to spread. He's like, what if somebody makes the connection to like the guy who killed the king, famously a Shin with a shard blade? It could draw all of the Alethi king and high princes like down on Yakaved from their war. Thousands would die. Blood would fall like the rain of a high storm. That could be bad.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Be very bad.
This does sound like foreshadowing. Like now that like at the end of the chapter when he gets contracted by these mysterious people. Just kind of okay, that's gonna happen.
Could be. Of course, we don't know. It doesn't seem like he'll be staying in one place for too long with his new list of people around the world to murder. So might be more
Probably
difficult.
not. But...
And so he sneaks in there, cuts his way into the room where the guy's supposed to be, and he finds the guy's head on the table. He's like, "Oh, all right." And a voice is like, Szeth, son Neturo.
He's like, oh man, who knows my dad? What the hell?
So
Are you
just
friends with
confused
my
the hell out of
dad?
me.
You got to tell me if you're friends with my dad, because he's a dick.
Are you satisfied with this? Are you satisfied with trivial crimes, killing over meaningless turf in backwater mining villages?
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't pick the Truthstone life, man.
Yeah. As far as we know.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
We don't know.
You are not meant for petty extortions and murderers. It's like hitching a Rhyshadium stallion to a rundown market wagon. It's like using a shard blade to slice vegetables. It is a crime. You are a work of art, Szeth, son Neturo. A god. And it's like, who are you? An admirer of the arts. And then he says, do not call me by my father's name. He should not be sullied by association with me. So I guess that explains to us why when all the other Shin are like, son so-and-so or daughter so-and-so, he is son Volano.
Just like a grandparent?
I mean, that would make sense, right?
The son of Volano?
Yeah.
My dad does not deserve to be associated with me. My grandfather, on the other hand, complete
That guy was a
twat.
jerk. Maybe he's dead, so it's okay. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather was played by Peter Falk, like that kid in the freaking Princess Bride. So.
And the guy's just like, I mean, don't you want to use your skills for greatness? And Seth's like, dude, there's no greatness in killing. Great men create food and clothing. He who adds is to be revered. I am he who takes away. Which goes to explain some of what we saw in the interlude with the Shin. Like, the farmer is really well respected and wealthy, and the warriors are like servants essentially. So I guess when you're a farmer, you are he who adds because you're growing food and adding to stuff.
This sounds awesome. Why don't we focus on the Alethi when the Shin culture sounds great?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's much nicer.
I feel like we should just. Is there data? Can we just skip to the book? Shit, the Shin are the main characters. I feel like that's gonna be more enjoyable for everyone.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that's not gonna come at some point, but
Yeah. We could have book 5s coming out next year. Could be Shin galore in there.
there could be. And so eventually Szeth is just tired of this conversation and he turns to go, and the guy's like, wait, where are you going? I mean, Gavashaw's dead. I got to go back to my master. And then another head gets tossed into the middle of the room, and it's Makek. It's like, oh yeah, we took him seconds after you left the gambling den.
I want to see that scene on page. Like, did they just rock in there with everybody around to like cut his head off? That'd be
It's like
sweet.
SEAL Team 6 showing up.
Nah, I think they just don't. They don't even hide it. They just do it.
Szeth is just like, wait, how did I not hear that?
We don't get a good look at this guy because he's wearing a mask, but we do know that he has Szeth's O-Stone, and Szeth is like, okay, what are your orders? There's a list on the table. It details our master's wishes. And it turns out that he's going to kill, there's 24 names. He says, these are some of the most powerful people in the world. 6 high princes, a Sele Gerontarch, and the king of Yakaved. Which, geez, sucks for the king of Yakaved, I guess.
Yeah, what did he do?
Yeah, well, he's dead.
And are these 6 of like the Alethi high princes? Like, we know where all 10 of them are, so
Yeah,
maybe
he's
Szeth is
coming
going
to
to run
Shattered
into.
Plans for sure if he's going to kill these dudes.
Is Dalinar on the list? Is
Oh,
Sadeas on the list? Oh my gosh.
Oh, but damn.
Well,
Dalinar better
probably
not be on the list.
Dalinar abdicated. He's not the high prince anymore.
Not that we know.
Yeah, but
of.
nobody
Has he
knows that
officially
yet.
abdicated?
Yeah, he hasn't officially done it yet. Not on page,
So-
anyway.
So yeah, what happens if Szeth has the list and Dalinar's on the list, and then Dalinar abdicates, and like the guy who made the list finds out, and he can't get a hold of Szeth to like tell him to switch to Adolin instead.
He's like, God damn.
He's standing over Adela, just like plunging his shard lady to him, and the guy bursts. He was like, wait, stop.
It's like, what good is this stone if it's not like a beeper also?
Medieval pager.
And also, this guy, the guy who's giving him the instructions, is a soulcaster because he turns the wall into smoke to leave, which seems unnecessary to me. Like, dude, there are doors, and you must have gotten in somehow. Did you make a wall into smoke to come in, and then you make a different one into smoke to go out? But yes, we end the chapter with Szeth being like, "This is my worst nightmare, to be in the hands of someone who understands my capabilities and has the ambition to use them."
Hang on, to go back to that, I would just live for the day where a soulcaster, like, you know, tries to do the dramatic exit thing, turns a wall into smoke, and it's a load-bearing wall, so the roof collapses.
Okay, yeah, no, that'd be great.
That's true. He's like, I'll see you. Oh, God!
But yes, this is horrific for Szeth. I'm sorry.
Poor guy.
Sure. Szeth's having a hard
I'm too
time.
worried about thinking about the walls.
Data goes a bit quick sometimes, and I've got to just like, well, I need to go back to this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Feel free. It's great stuff.
Funny stuff.
I want to go back to a Sele Gerontarch. So what's a Gerontarch?
Oh.
Gerontology is that like old people?
Yeah.
Study of old
Oh
people.
my god, he's going to assassinate the head of the nursing home.
Dude. Wait, does the head of a nursing home study old people? I feel like he's probably going to assassinate like a scientist, right?
Well, maybe the head of the nursing home is the he's got the live samples. Let's not go down this road.
The live
Okay, yeah,
samples.
sorry. That was it
Yeah,
was just a weird word to throw in there with the king and the high princes.
Right. Turns out the head gerontologist is actually like, that's his side gig. He actually hunts possums full time.
Oh no.
Yeah. He's like, I've been studying old people since the dawn of time. I know.
Yeah, now look where it's gotten us. We're being chased by some wacko assassin all in white.
Yeah, well, this from the boy who wants to be his own grandpa. Fucking weirdo.
Please don't try to kill me for that.
Well, not yet,
I mean, maybe
but
that's
they
why.
will.
You know this because you study old people?
Oh, I know what the ladies like, old or not. Don't know how that's relevant, but
I was going to say, I don't know where to go from that.
Hard to yes and that.
yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, we're moving into part 3, which is called Dying.
The important thing is Dalinar's name's not on it, so he's not the one dying, we hope.
Yeah,
It's true. We don't have a Dalinar or Adolin perspective listed.
thank God.
We do get a map or a picture of Carbronth, which is kind of cool. I don't know what much to say about that. You can see that it's in like this late with those stone walls on either side. And then the first chapter is Arrogance, which doesn't make any sense until you read the chapter. It's like, oh, okay. And our first new epigraph, the ones of ash and fire who killed like a swarm, relentless before the heralds. Noted in Masley, page 337, corroborated by Coldwin and Hassava.
So this sounds like it's going to be a great time.
Like
Are these volcano monsters?
This just sounds like a. I mean, and maybe it's appropriate because we're starting with how Yasna and Shallan are doing scholar stuff, but this just sounds like somebody's writing a report and they're this is their, what do you call it?
Yeah, it sounds like a
citation.
historiography. Yeah, it sounds like a historiography type thing.
Man, I remember having to do various citations in college
Sure.
for all the
Oh,
different
man.
styles.
What'd you use? Turabian mostly? That's what I use mostly.
Well, it depended on the class. Like different professors had different requirements, but
Right.
I did, I was a psych major, so a lot of American Psychological Association,
Sure.
APA. Anyway, so we start out with a span read conversation between not Yasna, between Shallan. I hope Yasna's not involved in this conversation, and between Shallan and her family.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, it sounds like you're getting in good with her. When can you switch the Soulcaster?"
Yeah, when can you do the thing that we want you to do because you've been gone a long time and things are not going well?
And she says, like, she keeps it on her all day and then she locks it away at night. But once she trusts me more, she might start using me as like a bathing attendant. And then I assume that she takes it off when she takes a bath.
Can you imagine? It's like, I'm your ward. I'll watch you take a bath. It's cool.
Well, not wash. I mean, you need somebody to do all the attending.
Sure.
Yeah, but also it's like we assume she takes off to bathe. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she turns maybe she just finds a rock pool full of oil or something and just turns into water and just jumps straight in.
Yeah. Or maybe she does a badass move where she turns her clothes into smoke. She's like, okay, I'm ready. And they're like, wait, what about your clothes? And she's like, I can make more.
Power move.
Yeah.
She's talking to her brothers, but actually, because men can't read or write, she's talking to Aelita, Nanbalot's betrothed, who is doing the writing on the other end. And it's like, Nanbalot wants me to point out that we're very sorry to make you do this. It must be difficult. And she's like, I mean, it's difficult not to love this and want to stay here and screw over you guys because this is awesome.
Oh no, I have my family of the crazy gambling guy, the guy who murders small animals, and the drunk. Was it the drunk?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I'd really rather be back with you guys rather than pursuing my every interest. Yes.
Yeah, I have to save my abusive father's reputation. Oh no.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we talk. It mentions Asha Jushu, who had a gambling problem and used to steal from their father's house to sell stuff to pay his debts. He's now selling off their possessions, pretending it's still for that, but it's really to help them stay ahead of these debts, their father's debts. So that's kind of nice that he can turn his old vices into something helpful.
It's true. It does seem like all the siblings have united in this, so that's something at least.
And then it's like, Shallan, this is Nanbalot. I've sent the others away. It's just me and Aelita now. There's something you need to know. Luesh is dead. So Luesh was their father's steward. He's the one who knew how to use the Soulcaster. And apparently he just died in his sleep. They're like, we don't think he was killed. But after that, some guys showed up and they implied they knew about the Soulcaster and suggested strongly that I was to return it to them. I don't know how you imply that you know about a thing and then suggest that it should be returned to you if you haven't explicitly said that you know about the thing. But whatever.
I mean, I guess they could have been like, we know that your father had a particular accessory that he would wear.
Okay.
We'd very much like that returned to us.
Yeah. It'd be terrible if it stayed here and got caught in the fire when your house burned down. Wait, what? Nothing.
Nothing. Just theories.
Imagine if that's how they approached it. And the accessory turned out to be like a necklace or something.
Yeah.
It's like totally different thing. Not the Soulcaster at all.
They're just making assumptions here. That'd be hilarious.
They returned a broken Soulcaster. It was like, wait, what the hell is this?
Yeah, this is what we wanted.
This isn't my grandmother's ring.
Yeah, he had like a diamond necklace. Where is it?
Yeah. Everyone always jumps to the worst possible conclusion.
I just wanted my pancake skillet back.
Pancake skillet.
I'm pulling words out.
I like how that's an accessory. Check out my pancake skillet accessory.
He wears it like a backpack.
Your father has something of ours.
Yeah. Something very important to us.
Yeah.
For pancakes. I mean. But yeah, so they're like
for breakfast.
It looks like Luesh was the one behind this. Like he was the go-between between their dad and these guys, and there was some sort of plan. Like maybe dad was making a play to become the new High Prince, and these guys were backing him. And so I was like, hey, you guys could back me instead. And then they just laughed, and then they left.
Mm-hmm. They're like, you don't know how to make pancakes.
I see for some reason when they describe these guys, I just see like the mafia from The Simpsons, like Fat Tony's walking in. He's like, you see my wife? She's been very vocal on the subject of the Soulcaster. Where is the Soulcaster? When are you going to get the Soulcaster? And so on in that fashion.
Oh, I love Fat Tony. He's one of the best.
Fat Tony's great.
I also love that it's like, yeah, I remember the commentaries for some of the Simpsons episodes where like, yeah, like, Joe Mantegna plays Fat Tony, and he told us, like, don't ever use somebody else. Like, if Fat Tony is in an episode and he coughs, I want to be the guy that you call to do the lines. So, I'm here. I'm ready to do it.
I'm Fat Tony.
It's the same with Kelsey Grammer, Sideshow Bob, isn't it? He's like, if there's one line, I want to be there.
I know that Kelsey Grammer hates the Sideshow Bob laugh.
Does he really?
Like, apparently it is like very hard on him to do that laugh. And every time he's like, do we have to do the laugh this time? And they're like, oh, you're doing the laugh.
Oh.
I mean, I could imagine that kind of laugh cannot be easy to just whip out whenever.
But also, to be fair, like he's done it enough times, they could probably just use stock audio for it.
Well, and that was one of the things that they said. He was like, I mean, can you guys just use a preview, like an old take or whatever? And also the time where Sideshow Bob is stepping on all the rakes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, can't you guys just like reset? No, you got to do all of them.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, such tangents.
Yeah, we're having a good time on the Sanderlanche this week. Don't stop the train.
And so Shallan is like, hey, have you guys thought like what'll happen if they find out that we've stolen an Alethi Soulcaster? Like these are super valuable items to a nation. I mean, we might be starting a war. And her brother's like, oh no, like there won't be a war. Our king will just hand us over to them and they will execute us. And she's like,
your king might not be around for much longer.
That's true. But she's just like, wow, comforting. Thank you so much.
Well,
You're welcome.
Thanks for asking me to do this. This is great.
I feel like this is one of those situations where it's hard to communicate sarcasm in writing, and she's like, wonderfully comforting. Thank you so much. And he goes, you're welcome. It's like, yeah, I mean, hopefully she just doesn't realize. Like, she'll probably just assume that hers broke for some reason. And Shallan's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, Yasna is very much the sort of person who will have her initials engraved in her soulcaster, so...
Maybe, yeah. And so she goes out, and it's time to attend Yasna and do some learning.
Now, hang on a minute. I think we skipped something quite crucial here.
Okay.
The symbol that was on Luesh's pendant and was on the guys who showed up. That symbol sounds familiar. Because, yeah, they're like, have you ever seen this symbol before? And Aelita's a bad artist, but it's a simple picture of 3 diamond shapes in a curious pattern. Oh, those Mitsubishi salesmen are back. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Kelsey's crew, eh?
So now we're thinking that this may be the Ghost Bloods.
Yeah.
Although we also were thinking that like those. So are the guys who showed up at was like Damu and Kaladin? Like, are they the ones who showed up at Shallan's house?
Could be.
Could have been.
Oh, maybe.
That could be interesting. Yeah. Okay. It feels less intimidating now if that's who it was, though. It's like it's not like the mafia showing up. It's
right.
Damu and Bayon and Kaladin, and they're like, hey, we want that Soulcaster back, Kolo.
Right, yeah, but it's more likely now that they were trying to make pancakes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Kaladin likes pancakes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like that scene in Ocean's 13. It's like I told her I wasn't a pancake eater.
So what'd you do? I threw it on the floor.
To be fair, like Damu, he's never struck us as the most intimidating guy, but he is a general.
True.
Bayon is straight up an assassin, and Kaladin, well, he's not exactly terrifying, but I still wouldn't like if he fought me in a fist fight, I would lose within half a second, I'm sure. So
yeah, that's true of me and most people probably.
So like if I didn't know who the 3 guys were and they showed up on my doorstep, like I probably would not be thinking of like them as like, oh, you guys are all right. Like I'd be intimidated as well.
Now, we know that Pure Lake dude, he was not intimidated by them. He was just like, these crazy foreigners.
They also never
out of the water.
him, I guess.
That's true. That guy, I don't know, that guy doesn't feel like he gets intimidated. He's just like too relaxed for that. But yes, thank you for pointing that out. I'd forgotten that the 3 symbols was in that section, or the 3 diamonds pattern. So yeah, interesting possibilities. If Kelsier's crew really is involved in some stuff going on, I mean, if that is them, then they're not just out here searching for Hoyd. They're trying to alter the course of succession in the nation of Yakaved. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And they got a hold of a Soulcaster somewhere. Like, all right.
Yep.
Apparently that's not an easy thing to do.
What's Kelsier up to?
I don't know. Maybe he's behind the guys who took Szeth over too. Maybe he's doing some shenanigans.
That could also be him.
Because I mean, we're talking about the next king of Yakaved, and then they straight up go like, "I want you to kill the king of Yakaved." So
yeah, that's true.
Apparently, yeah, okay. Apparently, like the High Prince where Shallan lives is not in good shape either. So a lot of important people in Yakaved maybe not living long, because that was the whole point of like her dad making a play for succession to the High Prince's seat was that he's sick or something. And so we cut to to Shallan and Yasna. Shallan's doing some research, and she's just like, I am really coming to hate the Alethi monarchy. And Yasna's like, oh, really? I'll try not to take it personally.
Picture moment.
And she's like, I didn't mean individually, Brightness Yasna. I meant categorically. I don't know that helps, but okay.
No, that distinction is 100% the sort of thing that Yasna will appreciate. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, debating time. Let's go.
Fair point, yeah. So Yasna has her researching stuff about the Alethi monarchy, the history of it, and she's finding it boring. And she's also annoyed by the way that these guys are making their points, where she says they refuse to see any other point of view. And Yasna's like, oh, they're confident. And she's like, I'm not an expert at confidence, Brightness, but I'd like to think I could recognize it if it were for me, and I don't think that's the right word for this. It feels like arrogant, or maybe errorgant, ERRORGANT.
She said the title chapter. I can't believe it.
Roll credits. It means twice as certain as someone who's merely arrogant while possessing only 1/10 the requisite facts.
Welcome to Arrogance Park.
And Yasna's like, yeah, that's something called the assuredness movement. It's like a literary device. And I do like Shallan's line of, I guess I could get behind that. Oh, yeah, much easier to stab it in the back from that position.
What doesn't make sense to me is, like, I don't know, and maybe that's because I think it should be written objectively. It's like, when you're writing history, why would you use a literary device? Why wouldn't you just write it the way that it occurred? Why would you use this assuredness thing? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to write an account of history that way.
Well, apparently it's like an account, but it also includes opinions, because she's reading about, like, King Gavilar's death, and the different writers have different theories about why the Parshendi did what they did.
So basically, the way they write it is like, I'm so sure it happened this way.
Yeah. When reading these books, scholarship and ignorance feel much alike to me.
Yeah, so I get it now. You're reading a book by Mark the Historian, and Mark the Historian's like, I'm so sure it happened this way. And he says in his book, it definitely didn't happen the way Jimmy the Historian said, like this, and this is why it didn't happen this way. It happened this way. Like that, I guess that makes a little more sense to me. And
so, yeah, she's annoyed by this, and Yasna's like, what about intelligence without ignorance, finding truth while not dismissing the possibility of being wrong? A mythological treasure, Brightness, like the Dawn Shards or the Honor Blades. Certainly worth seeking, but only with great caution. So, the Honor Blades and the Dawn Shards are mythological treasures. And I do like, finally, Yasna calls her out, and it's like, okay, look, if you put half the energy that you devote to being witty into, like, your work, you could become one of the greatest scholars ever. And Shallan's like, I'm sorry. Like, I know that I've got, like, this fault where I'm always, like, throwing out these quips. My tutors tried to discourage that. And Yasna, like, quizzes her a little bit on how that works. She's like, oh, yeah, your tutors were stupid. That doesn't help. That just makes it worse. And she basically, like, says exactly what happened. Like, you turned it into a game, right? Like, how much could you say before you earned your punishment? Could you say something so clever your tutors missed the joke? And sitting in corners just gave you time to come up with more things to say. I prefer my wards to be clever. It gives me more to work with. I should bring you to court. I suspect wit at least would find you amusing. Yeah, they'd probably get along. Okay, so then we're talking about the theories about why the Parshendi killed her father, and like none of it really makes any sense. We're about the assassin in white. A true anomaly. The undertexts are filled with commentary about him. Why would they hire an outside assassin? Did they think they couldn't do it? Maybe they didn't hire him and were framed. That seems unlikely since they took credit for it.
He could be being blackmailed.
I mean, being blackmailed to take credit for it would draw the Alethi down to kill all of your people. That seems whatever they've got on you must be real bad.
We have a much more efficient way of killing the crab monsters that you worship, whereas the Alethi aren't as good at it, so they're the lesser of two evils in this case.
Oh, interesting. It's about preserving their gods. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good theory. We find out about two people, the Sunmaker, who began his conquest at 17, and Gavara, who she proposed the theory of the three realms, which that's a thing that we kind of know something about.
Hey, she was spot on.
And then we've got Gregor, who was a young king, notorious for beginning a pointless war with kingdoms that had been his father's allies. So just some little bits of history.
That's a funny way of saying Joffrey.
And it's funny because she thought that being a ward under Yasna would be a bunch of busy work and memorization, but it's actually like she's like, here's a topic I want you to research. Go and pursue that. And then like actually they talk about it and stuff. Like this is amazing for her. This is a completely new way of doing things. Yasna loved learning and she wanted others to love learning as well. And she has to keep reminding herself, like, don't fall in love with this. Don't get drawn in. You're not here to become a master scholar. You're here to rob this lady and save your brothers in your house. And then the king of Kharbranth shows up, who we met briefly when Shallan first got to town. He's an old dude who we find out later in the chapter people think of as being kind of not dumb exactly, but just average. So not as smart as to be respected by them. But his Taravangian comes to sit down and have lunch with them, which is Taravangian is a name. And sometimes I've seen people call him like Mr. T. So you don't have to type all that out.
That completely changes the reading of the character.
Right. Yeah. Very different. And so he's come to chat with Yasna and Shallan a little bit. We find out that he wants Shallan to draw a picture of him. But before we get to that, he and Yasna have a conversation about faith and the Almighty. And he's like, I mean, how do you get by without having anything to believe in? And she's like, I mean, I have stuff that I believe in. It's just not a god. Oh, I guess he starts out by being like, you know, the Ardents in town, they're not super happy about what you did and what's going on, which she told him when she showed up and he asked her to save his granddaughter. She was like, the Ardents aren't going to be happy and they're very powerful, you know. And he wants to know about her soulcaster, and she doesn't want to tell him. He's like, I mean, I've already required some new enemies by welcoming you. She's like, you'll be forgiven depending on your devotary. And he's forgiven? Me? Unlikely, but that's something else entirely. I like Shallan's just like, he's got this deep regret in his expression. Like this guy is deeper than we find out right here. And I kind of am interested in him.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
But yeah, so he came to ask about her soulcaster, which Yasna's just like, I'm sorry, man, I'm not going to tell you. I forgive curiosity. I cannot reward it this time. But he has heard about her ward's artistic skill and wants her to draw a picture of him. And Shallan is like, oh yeah, sure, why not? And while she's drawing, that's when they get into the debate about faith. Is it hard for you, Yasna? Painful, I mean? And she's like, atheism is not a disease. It's not like I've caught a foot rash. And so she believes that, like, her heart basically tells her what's right and wrong. And he believes that what's right and wrong comes from God. And that's how you determine that. And so they have a discussion. And in the end, he's like, you know what? You make your arguments well. I mean, I don't agree with them, but, you know, he kind of respects her approach here at least. And she's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with keeping my belief to myself. I'm not trying to convert other people, unlike the Ardents. And then Shallan is finishing up her sketch, and she hasn't been paying a lot of attention. She's been listening to this conversation. And when she looks down, she sees that she's drawn the king, but behind him in the doorway are two tall, willowy creatures with cloaks split down the front, stiff high collars, and instead of heads, large floating symbols of twisted design full of impossible angles. So that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And I guess it means something, because this is like the one thing at the con that I remember people cosplaying as that I'm like, what the heck is that?
Really?
Yeah, there were several people cosplaying as whatever these things are, you know, based on the description. At least that's what I'm assuming, because they did a pretty good job based on that description, at least, of looking like what these things are described as.
I'm trying to find, there was another thing that might be relevant here. Second.
We saw earlier on like a chapter title, we saw images of things that I think were also the same thing, but I was making a guess on that.
So all the way back to chapter 4, and maybe this is relevant. It sounds kind of like what we're seeing, maybe not, but I wanted to draw it out in case you guys had forgotten this. The epigraph in chapter 4 says, I'm dying, aren't I? Healer, why do you take my blood? Who is that beside you with his head of lines? I can see a distant sun, dark and cold, shining in a black sky. So the head of lines thing makes me think of what she's talking about here.
So on Scadrial, preservation showed up to guide everyone who was dying into the cognitive realm. Whoever the shard is on this planet is like, let's send you some abstract horrors.
Yeah. No, and so what does that lead us to believe here? Do we think the king's gonna die soon? Is that what we're thinking?
Maybe?
These guys are the marsh of this world, the death.
Yeah, old Iron Eyes himself.
Yep.
I sort of thought that now that Szeth had his hit list, maybe this king was on it.
Could be.
Yeah, could be.
Which is
And
a shame.
Subconsciously, somehow, Shallan knows that.
Yeah, and I thought maybe. Go ahead.
I was saying, like, the memory that she preserved, maybe she actually saw something.
Yeah. And I thought maybe because I had postulated that the beginning epigraphs near the front of the book were like people's last words or whatever, and maybe these things are like recording it. They're the ones that are like actually writing
these are the guys
epigraphs.
doing that.
Yeah,
that would make sense since we'd see them he seems to have seen them in that one epigraph. That's a good point. Yeah. So is there someone dying right around here, and they've got their notepads out like ready to go? I mean, we do know that Taravangian is popular, it says in this chapter, because he builds hospitals. So there's lots of hospitals in town. So maybe they're hanging around listening for dead people. In fact, as he leaves this scene, he's like, oh, I need to go to the hospitals to visit the sick. So nice guy.
Yeah, maybe he's going to catch something at the hospital, and that's what'll kill him. And
so she freaks out and just like destroys this. She don't want anyone to see what she's drawn unintentionally.
Wouldn't you?
And Yasna's like, oh, that was weird. I've never seen you do something like that. But she's like, look, I'll draw another one. It'll be great. I'll get it to you in today. Don't worry about it. And he's like, okay, good. It would, it's going to be a present for, did he say his granddaughter? Something like that. And she, after he leaves, she talks to Yasna about how, the Light Eyes, they think that he's kind of dull. Like he's not super bright. And so do you not find him like, and Yasna, on the other hand, is like, no, I like him. He's a good man, worth 100 self-proclaimed experts on courtly ways. Reminds me of my uncle Dalinar. Earnest, sincere, and concerned. And Shallan says, well, I mean, the Light Eyes say he's weak because he panders to other monarchs, fears war, and doesn't have a shard blade. And Yasna is like, once upon a time, a person who brought peace to his kingdom was considered a man of great worth. And now the same person's looked at as a coward. This is not a good change. It should terrify us. But she has a good point. And then she's like, I shall require you to never call him dull again, not even in passing. And then Shallan and Yasna talk a little bit. Like Shallan's like, has her own arguments for the existence of the Almighty. And Yasna's like, yeah, you feel the way you feel. I feel the way I feel. I can't have your feelings. So, I get it. But your rhetorical method is improving. We'll make a scholar of you yet. And so she goes back to the drawing and she has trouble focusing. And that's the end of her chapter. Last chapter that we did, Darkness Unseen. And the epigraph is, they were suddenly dangerous, like a calm day that became a tempest. This fragment is the origin of a Thaylen proverb. I believe it may be a reference to Voidbringers. See Ixix's Emperor 4th chapter. Ixix that's a name.
Yeah.
And we cut back to Kaladin, who is he's coming out of the barracks. All 29 of the other bridgemen follow him out. Well, the ones that are healthy, at least. Slaves, thieves, deserters, foreigners, even a few men whose only sin had been poverty. So apparently, the people come here because the pay is decent compared to other stuff, and you promised if you survive 100 bridge runs, you get promoted. But nobody survives 100 bridge runs. Kaladin had been on 24, and he was already one of the most experienced living bridgemen.
I was going to say, what a carrot to dangle.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like a trope, though. Somebody's like, well, if I can just get to this, then I'll be free.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's always out of reach.
Yeah.
Yep. 100 just seems like a whole lot. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everybody's joined up now. The last holdout was Bissig, and he's like, I'd like to think that it was like the laughter and the food and stuff that got him, but it was probably actually like some threats from Rock and Teft. But whatever, I'll take it. Eventually, I'll need their loyalty. For now, I'll settle for obedience. And so he starts running them through training with the bridge. And that's when we cut to Gaz, who is watching them. And he has this whole soliloquy kind of about having lost an eye. And it's like he feels like there's always something hiding in the darkness that he can't see, that everyone else can see. And people told him he's lucky. He could have been killed, but they don't get it. They don't have to live with that darkness right there.
Do we know how he lost his eye?
From this, I assume it was in battle, because it says the blow could have taken your life, but I don't know that we know any actual details. Could have been a bar fight.
Yeah.
And here comes Lamaril, the Light Eyes, who's in charge of the bridge crews. And apparently Gaz owes him a lot of money. He hands over a topaz mark, and Lamaril's like, you owe me twice this much.
Yeah, I wonder if he like was sentenced to the bridge crews, and that guy like he had to pay him off, basically be in his debt to not be on a bridge crew.
So Lamaril is like holding this debt over him, and also his position of authority. We find out like he's like one of the lowest Light Eyes, the landless, it says, but that still puts him over all the Dark Eyes, including he's Gaz's immediate superior. And so these low-ranking Light Eyes, they're some of the most vicious.
Which, considering this is Gaz's boss, Gaz really mouths off to him.
He does, right? Yeah. But he also he calls him Bright Lord, because I guess that's just like we talked about it last time. Somebody thought somebody was a High Prince because they were called Bright Lord, but apparently just being a Light Eyes, you're a Bright Lord.
Yeah, Lord of shit over here.
Or if you're a woman, you're Brightness. We've seen that several times. And so Lamaril is not a fan of what's going on down there with Bridge 4. And Gaz is like, I don't see a problem. They're fast. That's good. And Lamaril says, Bridgemen exist for one purpose, Gaz, to protect the lives of more valuable men. And Gaz is like, really? I thought their purpose was to carry bridges. Don't try me, Gaz, and don't forget your place. Would you like to join them? And that's the one rung lower that he does not want to go. He's like, I cannot end up there. So Lamaril wants Kaladin taken care of. This guy is a little. He's got ambition, and the bridge crews are not the place for ambition.
Yeah, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
So he goes, and Gaz is like, I mean, okay, fine. We'll have somebody stab him, put some poison. I'll take care of it. And he's not happy about it because those bribes that he gets it's all that are letting him keep a little bit ahead of his payments to Lamaril. And Lamaril's like, what? No. Can't let people think that he's actually a threat, that we had to assassinate him. No. He has to fall on the field as he deserves. Make certain it happens. And get me the rest of the money that you owe, or you'll find yourself carrying one of those bridges. So basically, Gaz is kind of screwed. It's either he doesn't do the job that he's been given and probably ends up as a bridgeman, or he kills Kaladin, doesn't have that money coming in, can't pay his debt, and ends up as a bridgeman. So as much of an asshole as Gaz is, his own situation is not great.
Just another case of Lethe culture is not great to a lot of people.
Nope. Yep. You're right.
And like this, I know we say a lot of times, like maybe we need to just trust Sadeas. This situation is directly a result of Sadeas just being an outright jerk. He's the one who insists on these bridge crews operating as they are and no changes be made. So this one's all on Sadeas.
He is the top of the ladder in this camp. So all of the command decisions are ultimately, they're his responsibility, whether he made them or not. And clearly, his soldiers are not the nicest crew.
Yeah.
And so Gaz is just like, I can't be a bridgeman. That's hopelessness right there. There's no way. Kaladin the Lordling had to fall. And like at one point in here, he even thinks like, man, maybe that guy really was a soldier like he was talking about. But no, I mean, why would he end up in the bridge crews? And we see a little bit of this practice with the bridge. And Kaladin's even like, man, we need to practice on a real chasm so they can get the real, the push across just right. I wonder what kind of bribe it would take for Gaz to let us do that. And then he does the thing. He's like, hey, in 2 weeks, you guys are already working together as well as some teams I trained for months. I'm proud of you. Get something to drink, take a break. And he's convinced them that lifting stones will help improve their strength for the bridge runs, so they don't hate the stone gathering duty as much anymore. In the last 2 weeks, they've been 2 bridge runs, and one time the Parshendi got off with the Gemheart before they even got there. But in the other time, they lost 2 more men and wounded 2 more. Amark and Kulf are dead, and Narm and Pete are wounded, so it's not great.
Nom.
It's not Dunny, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dunny forever.
And then he's watching Gaz, watching them, and Syl comes over. He's like, he's planning something. He was talking to that Light Eyes guy. I didn't like their expressions. Dark, like thunderclouds. And Kaladin's like, oh yeah, no, I get it. You don't trust him either? Well, he's a Light Eyes, so nothing we can do about it, though. And there's no point in worrying about what we can't solve. So she makes an observation, and he's like, hey, you're getting better and better at observing us. And she says, I feel more like I'm remembering things I once knew. And he says, soon you'll hardly be a Spren at all. You'll be a little translucent philosopher. Which Jamie has been theorizing that she's not a normal Spren, at least, if a Spren at all. So
Correct.
Seems to be heading more in that direction.
She's smarter than the average Spren.
And then
Kaladin
Kaladin gets an idea. They deny a shield, but we already carry one on our shoulders. And he starts trying to show the men, hey, let's hold the bridge like this, where we hold it to the side, basically. And they're all like, what? Why? What good would that do? And he's like, well, just as an experiment. Try out some different positions. Work some different muscles.
I also like how, that seems like a pretty simple concept to me. It's like, hold the bridge this way so that we can block arrows with it.
Right, yeah.
How
does this not occur to anyone?
Yeah.
And here's where we get the Moash scene, where Kaladin's like, something wrong, soldier? And Moash goes, why did you make me a leader of a sub-squad? Because you resisted my leadership longer than almost any of the others, and you were flat out more vocal about it than any of them. So you struck me as capable and intelligent, and you weren't swayed too easily. You're strong-willed, I can use that. He's like, I mean, okay, but unlike Teft and the Horn Eater, I don't think you're a gift straight from the Almighty. I don't trust you. I agree. You don't get a great feel off of Moash here.
I mean, it's just enough to think, like, you can see that through later chapters, it'll look like that he is coming around on Kaladin, and then bam, there's the knife.
Maybe. And so then we cut back to Gaz, who's seeing them try to carry the bridge on the side. And he's like, what the hell is going on? That's ridiculous. And he goes down. He's like, what is this? And Kaladin's like, bridge crew carrying what I believe is, yes, it's a bridge. I didn't ask for lip. I want an explanation. And so Kaladin says, carrying over our heads gets tiring. So, we're going to use some different muscles. Let us shift it around. Gaz is like, I get it. It can be tiring, but that's just stupid. You look like you're all going to fall over each other. The handholds are terrible. You can barely fit your men in there. Like, yeah, but a lot of time only half a bridge crew survives a bridge run. We can carry it back easier this way. And that gives them an idea. If they try to run like this, they'll all be exposed, and it could be a disaster for Bridge 4. So he's like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I like it. Initiative.
Somehow
creativity.
they'll be exposed by creating a barrier.
Well, I mean, if they carry it to their left or right, and while they're running directly, it won't be a barrier between them and the arrows.
Guess it depends on where the arrows are coming from.
Well, that's true. He's like, How did
that arrow get him? Like, we're holding it like a shield. It seemed to have got him in the back somehow.
Could it have possibly been from the other side?
Everyone just looks at Gaz. He's like, no.
He hides a bow behind his back. What? Shut up. He's like, initiative, creativity. You keep practicing. I'd very much like you to see a plateau approach carrying the bridge that way. And Cal's like, really? Yeah. Well then, maybe we will. This is one of those, another like Simpson scene. It's like, well, good. Yeah, maybe I will. Please do.
There are Simpsons thing, like Principal Skin is talking about his time in the army, and it's like, yeah, this photo was taken right before I was shot in the back, which was funny because it was at a peacetime declaration.
That sounds
just
about right.
Just a picture of him in front of his unit, and they're all just like scowling at him behind him.
So we end our chapter with Kaladin being like, yeah, Gaz being like, yeah, this will take care of my Kaladin problem. Now I'm just gonna find some way to pay Lameral's blackmail. And yeah, that's the end of our chapters. So predigments. We're kind of level setting again for where we're coming back into section or part 3 here. So we found some interesting stuff. What do you guys think? What's gonna happen?
Okay, predictions. I don't think I've really got anything new today. We already sort of spoke about it before, but my thoughts were that Shallan was able to effectively see death, and in that moment she's sort of captured it, and or she's channeling something when she's drawing. So perhaps something bad is going to happen to the king of Kharbranth, whether he's on Szeth's list or not. I don't know. I feel like something could happen to him. Perhaps an event there would drive Yasna back towards the Shrouded Plains or to Dalinar. Not quite sure really what I think there, but she's definitely got some sort of ability that's more than what we know at the moment. That's probably my biggest one this week. I think that Kaladin, while he's making pretty good headway, obviously we know that not only does he have to worry about the Parshendi on the bridge runs, he's now got to worry about a threat from within. Sort of what Dak was saying before, our newest friend in the crew that we don't really think we can trust. Perhaps that's a way for Gaz to get in there, or to replace a crew member with somebody who can't be trusted. I don't know. I feel like he would be like the Parshendi. This would be a really easy way to take him out, because you just basically shoot him with an arrow while they're carrying the bridge on the side. But you'd have to work pretty. It would be hard to make it look like it was just in battle or while moving the bridges or something. I feel like it's not as organic as what Gaz thinks it might be. So he's going to have a bit of a challenge cut out for himself to make it look like Kaladin's not been targeted, I guess. That could definitely cause some upset. I'd like to think that Gaz maybe would flip and go, hang on, some really cool stuff's happening here. This is good, but I just don't think I can give him that. He's too worried about what he can't see, let alone anything else going on. The Soulcaster and Shallan, I think long term, maybe Shallan's not going to be able to do it. I don't think she's going to be able to swap it out, but maybe something will happen. You know, they reckon they've got a couple of months to go with the rest of the family before they're found out. I reckon they'll be found out before Shallan even gets an opportunity to swap things over. But maybe by then chaos has already ensued and it won't matter as much. I think Shallan's got a bigger part to play here. Like that, to me, that story is her reason for being there rather than an end of the story sort of plot line. But I don't know. Could change. Kind of all I've got.
Okay. No, that makes
more thoughts than actual predictions.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a stream of thoughts, but I like in a weird way, your theory about like maybe like things will go crazy before Shallan even has the chance to steal the Soulcaster. Weirdly, that would kind of be the best thing for Shallan. She gets to stay here and be happy and not have to rob Yasna. I mean, her family, maybe things don't go super well for them, but she tried her best to fix that, right? So
yeah, I can't imagine it would go well if she did manage to swap out the Soulcaster and then disappear and you know, like Yasna's brother is the king of Alethkar. Like that's not going to go well. It doesn't matter how it goes for Shallan. Something's going to go poorly for her and her family. You just create a new enemy. Yeah,
they're like, hopefully she'll think her Soulcaster just broke. But if it happens to coincide with Shallan leaving suddenly, that's going to look suspicious.
It's going to look bad.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You'd have to find a way to get it out without actually leaving.
And then you have to find someone that you can trust to like take it back. Who do you trust with a job this secret?
Yeah, it would have to be one of the brothers.
What about Yalb? We liked Yalb when he
he was all right. I feel like he'd get distracted somewhere, or he'd lose at gambling or something, you know?
Probably, right. Yeah.
Like trustworthy to a point.
Yeah, no, I get it. You're right. Okay. Good thoughts.
Okay, well, I've already talked about, I think Moash is going to, be a sneaky bastard. I think there were hints there that Gaz could sort of sense Syl as well towards the end there. He's
Oh.
like, hey, had something moved there in the darkness. So I don't know, maybe his missing eye gives him a little bit of attunement to Spren, but he's not bright enough to figure out what that is. But maybe like that we'll see more of his Spren sensing abilities later. If ability is really something you can call it. So my big one this week, which is not one I expect to have predicted later on, is not one I expect to, see come to fruition in the next few books. Probably wouldn't happen until book 5 of Stormlight, because that's the one where Brandon says the kid gloves come, like that's after Lost Metal, where the kid gloves came off for the first time. But I'm thinking about the fact that like we've seen confirmation that yes, there are ghost bloods on Roshar with their diamond pattern, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell Kelsier wants on this planet, because we've never actually seen Kelsier off of Scadrial before. Mm. We've seen him trying to preserve Scadrial, or at least that's what we believed. He was trying to stop autonomy from doing it. So I wonder if maybe Kelsier also on a mission to just... His whole thing in the Final Empire was removing the common people from the rule of the Lord Ruler. And I wonder if now he's upped his game to doing that on a Cosmere scale. He sees the shards as the new ruling class, I guess, to put in the same terms. So he's trying to free the people of all planets from the rule of their shards. So whatever his plans are up to, he's trying to eliminate shards from the equation while at the same time like dispersing their powers among the people. Maybe
he does want to punch a lot of gods. So,
yeah. Just trying to think. Like in his original characterization, he was the little man like fighting against the nobility, and he employing some really underhanded tactics to do so. Because like in that first book, we're just like, we don't know if we really like Kelsier. He was kind of a jerk to his own men. So I could see him upping that game exponentially now that he's held the power of a shard. He knows what it's like. So he's just sort of inflated his goals. They're the same goals, but just on a much grander scale.
That could definitely be interesting, especially if like you say, it's like just something that's building in the background of Stormlight until maybe book 5, and then it's like it comes out. That could be a really cool kind of secret.
We've had the epigraphs where it talked about, we assume that it was Odium who was out to kill all the other shards. Maybe Kelsier's like this guy's got the right idea, and then once he's the only one left, then we'll take him down or something. So, yeah, grand scale stuff.
That could definitely be interesting. Also important probably to remember that like the first 4 Stormlight books, as you mentioned, are before Lost Metal comes out, and we see that there even is an organization that Kelsier is running back on Scadrial. So no one reading this book when it came out, or when any of the first 4 books came out, would know anything about that.
That is true. Yeah. So yeah, if this does come out, it's not going to come out until whatever the 5th Stormlight book is called. Does it have a title yet? Do we know?
So for a while, we have what we think is going to be the title at this point. For the longest time, book he was talking about book 5 being called Stones Unhallowed, and then not long ago he announced that the working title was Knights of Wind and Truth.
That's a good title. I like that.
And then recently he shortened what he thinks the title is going to end up being to just Wind and Truth.
Okay. That could work. So yeah, we won't get to it for years because it's going to take a while to get through all the Stormlight books on their own.
Yep.
But that's where I think that's going. And on a smaller scale, I think Szeth is I think Kelsier is or someone from Kelsier's group is the one who hired Szeth to go back and start doing his thing, because he's looking for a way to shatter. Again, if he topples nobility, he'll the rest of society will crumble. The shard will have to step in, and then the shard will be vulnerable. So that's what. So Szeth is an instrument to make that happen.
That is very interesting, and I would really like to see that long game being played here, because that would be needing 5 Stormlight books to get there. And these Stormlight books, as we've established, are very big books. That would be a long game indeed.
Yep.
I like that. I think Brandon is capable of something like that, so I'm on board.
So we've got, let's just start chronologically from what we read today. Szeth, I think my predicament for him is that he is going to have to come to the Shattered Plane with the amount of High Princes on his hit list. That's where they're going to be. And so even if like there's even if it's not like directly on page, there's going to be maybe some tertiary like discussion of like something's going on. Some the High Prince, like one of the High Princes was found dead last night. Like what's happening? And even though like we're not seeing Szeth do it on page, like it's going to be kind of a running plot line within the characters that we are getting viewpoints from. And so that could really shake things up at the Shattered Plains in general. Could really shake things up for Daladar. Maybe he'll decide to stay on since all this crazy stuff's going on, and he doesn't want his son or sons to become a target of this person. If they're just targeting High Princes, then he'll stay on as a High Prince. It is interesting to me that the Ghost Bloods are possibly behind it, because like I guess kind of with what Dak was saying, like what is their goal? Is their goal to just take down any kind of monarchy or thing that is keeping them from like from being a free people without any lords or lordship? Is that their ultimate goal? Because if so, this is a really bloody way to go about it, which I mean, we know that Kelsier's not necessarily opposed to that, but at the same time, it's just it's a little different from what we've seen in the past. So it's a little concerning if that's what they're doing. Yeah, while Dak was talking, I was like, man, could Kelsier be Odium? And I was like, nah, that doesn't fit. That doesn't make any sense based on what we know about what's going on. So that's that one I threw out the window pretty quick, but that was a wild theory that crossed my mind. And so yeah, that's kind of where I see the Szeth stuff going. Maybe as like he's active but in the background, and we know of his exploits through the plot and the main characters that we're seeing viewpoints from. The Shallan stuff, yeah, I'm kind of with Jamie. I hope that basically, I mean, how I understand their family, but like how much does Shallan really care about these people? Like what good is going to come out of her family surviving? And so if that's the case, like I'd rather she just get to stay with Yasna and hang out and be, because obviously like she's a viewpoint character, she's going to continue to be in the story. I just don't foresee that story going to she gets home with the Soulcaster and makes everything right. Like I just don't see that going there. I just narratively that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her character, I don't think. And so I imagine that something's going to happen. Either Yasna's going to find out about what she's doing, or she's going to be unsuccessful in doing it, or time's going to run out and she's going to be like, well, my best bet is just to stay here. And so we're just going to continue to have like a Shallan Yasna thing. That would be my prediction on that, because I just don't see it happening any other way. Yeah, it doesn't work out the way she wants it to work out, for sure.
I think I agree with you that like Shallan going back home to like the backwoods of Yakoved feels like one of our main characters moving away from the story. Because Yasna is connected to what's going on the Shattered Plane, which is the other part of our story at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. And so she's the niece of daughter of the dead king, niece of the High Prince. Yeah.
So if Shallan separates from her, it's like she's leaving the entire rest of the story.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't see her getting away with her plan. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me narratively for that to happen. And then moving on to Kaladin, it was interesting that to me anyway, that Jamie was like, yeah, I think he's going to try, that Gaz is going to try to use this as an opportunity to strike when they're doing this bridge run. I didn't read it that way. So it was interesting from her perspective. My read on it was Gaz is too stupid to understand also that the bridge is going to be used as a shield. He doesn't understand that that's how it's going to work. He thinks that they're going to be more exposed when they're actually going to be less exposed. And so his plan was just to kind of let the chips fall where they may. Like, he doesn't understand that it's actually going to help them. So he was going to be like, oh yeah, they're going to be exposed and it's going to be worse. So he's probably just going to die by doing this stupid like bridge carry. It's not, I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit back and let it happen. Like, I feel like that was his attitude towards it. And so I think Gaz is going to be disappointed. I think it's going to work extremely well. But we already know there's quite a bit of animosity between the other bridge crews and Bridge 4. So if they come up with this new strategy and then like none of them are harmed, the other bridge crews are going to be pissed. So I just don't see it, even though it may work successfully like on a run, I don't see this tactic being something that they're going to be able to repeat because the other bridge crews are going to be pissed off about it. Like either that or like something's going to go wrong. They're going to be like, you can't hold the bridge that way anymore. So it's just, they're going to get this like one opportunity, but it's not going to go the way Kaladin thinks it's going to go to, right? Because the fact of the matter is the people in charge do not care about their lives. So if they're going to do a technique that is against what they want them to do as bridge crew members, and it's going to save more of their lives, they're going to be like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we're told once again in this chapter by Lamoral, it's like the point of them is to die.
Right.
So if they do something that means they don't die, well.
Yeah, especially if like the point of them is to be bait, because like that's a good point too, because like if they are blocking themselves with the bridge and they can't be hit, then why wouldn't the Parshendi just shoot at the guys on the horses? Mm-hmm. Like, so it's very possible that that's actually going to backfire, and like even though they will survive, the casualties to the men that they actually care about will be high, and they'll be pissed off about that, and then they're definitely going to be in for some bad times for sure. So yeah, bad times. So that's kind of where I see that immediately going. Long term, I kind of like Dak thinking long term wild, like shout out book 5 predicament. That was cool. Yeah, I mean that's true. If the kid gloves are coming off starting in book 5, there's a lot of possibility for actually introducing characters that from the other places, like just outright without being like sneaky about it, right? Because like we got descriptions of people that we know from other works, but like we didn't actually, there's nobody outright saying like, hi, my name's Kelsier. Like, so that could be very interesting. There's a lot of potential there for some interesting storycraft. So I'm gonna agree with Dak. I'm gonna say like the Ghost Bloods are going to kind of out themselves. Kelsier's going to get involved more directly with the plot on this world as well, because like in The Lost Metal, we saw him take a pretty, not super active, but a pretty active role. He's at least on page talking as himself several times. Right. And so, we may see something similar from the 5th book of Stormlight Archive. I would also say that like it's Dak's theory is entirely possible if Kelsier's like going down this dark path. And so really like what is the idea that could happen for me? Like they keep chasing, we've got this idea that the Ghost Bloods are chasing Hoyd. Like maybe they don't know what his agenda is, and maybe that's why they're chasing him. They want to know like what is this guy's like thing? Why is he doing this? But then if they are simpatico in their like ideas of what should be happening, like they should be taking down Odium, for example, or maybe even all the Shard Bearers. I don't know if that's Hoyd's plan, but if that's Kelsier's plan, then maybe they end up teaming up and we get Ghost Blood sexy drifter action, and that would be pretty sweet.
We know that Era 2 of Mistborn takes place after this, and we definitely saw the Ghost Bloods and Hoyd have a weird relationship.
I guess that's true. So maybe there is no team up coming. It'd be nice if there was, but yeah, maybe you're right. But yeah, so we've got a lot of interesting ideas to work with, but that's all I have.
Yeah, so that's a lot of interesting possibilities. Got some support for what Dak was saying out there. I like that. About the Kaladin thing, I'll just make one little comment that we're going to read 4 chapters for next week, 31, 32, 33, 34. Chapter 32 is called Side Carry. So.
Okay. So maybe we get to see the side carry in action.
Might see some of that.
Chips will fall where they may.
So you've got I like your ideas on Shallan just from like a literary standpoint of like the story making more sense one way than the other. Brandon sometimes does the unexpected and throws us a curveball, but I agree with the logic that you've got at least.
Right. I mean, if Shallan ended up going home and then just farming the rest of the book, I would be pretty confused. I'd be like, why is this a thing? Why are we? It was like, was all that just a setup to show Yasna? Like now we're following Yasna without her soulcaster. Was this all set up just for that? Because that seems weird. But it could happen.
Yeah, it could happen. Why not? Okay, let's do the other thing. We have no new patrons this week. We have I don't think we
no
have
new
any
patrons.
reviews.
Well, if they want to become a patron, Data, where do they go?
You can check out our Patreon, the Sanderlanche podcast on Patreon, where my reactions to Defiant are going up. Right now, the as of this recording, the last one that went up was chapters 10 to 12. So if you want to hear me reading the last book of the Skyward series, go check that out.
Yeah, that book came out last month, right?
Yeah, at the con. Yep. But we do have a bunch of new emails, and we will do a few of them at least. Probably save some of these, but the first one, the title is New Emailer. They're not sure if they're a new emailer or not.
Mm-hmm.
This one is from Fox. Hello, I haven't emailed you guys before, but I'm on the Discord. Fox. In the second most recent episode, released from the time I'm writing this, December 11th, you guys mentioned how weird it would be for someone who read The Way of Kings before anything in the Cosmere. And well, I did just that. Firstly, I didn't read the epigraphs. Stupid, I know, but they felt too confusing to be important. I thought everything would be revealed in the text anyway. Addie? Who's that? Do I care? I had no idea what a shard was, so I was really curious about how gods in this world worked, because it's not fantasy without really weird/cool gods. And I didn't know Sanderson's writing style, so I made some predictions that were totally wrong, and when I look back, I'm like, how did I think that? Sanderson would never do that. Lastly, Hoyd, I had no idea who that was. Then I saw him in Final Empire after finishing Stormlight and was shocked to see him there. So yeah, reading Way of Kings first made it really hard to understand. Luckily, a lot of my past obsessions have been fantasy sci-fi series with really complex lore. I even understood Elder Scrolls lore, so I never felt too lost. But I still did when it mentioned more Cosmere-aware things. So yeah, I know a lot of people's experience is Way of Kings first because the Stormlight Archive is like one of probably the biggest, most famous series that he does. So okay. A lot of people jump in there, but not being one of those, it is hard for me to think about what that would be like.
I'm glad we got a bit of insight into what it was like for someone.
Yeah,
because I have been wondering that ever since we started this book. I'm just like, wow, what would you be like if this was your first?
There you go. Kind of confusing, but still interesting, I think is what we got.
Yeah. Kind of confusing, but still interesting. You never forget your first.
Important thing is it didn't turn him off.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right?
It turned him on.
It's interesting to me because we talked about it when we read Mistborn, about that there are people out there who just don't read the epigraphs. Like, that's probably not important, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty important.
I mean, the Mistborn experience is completely different if you don't read the epigraphs.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure at this point that the Stormlight experience would be, but it's a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I mean, these are a little bit more broken up because it seems like every part has different writers, and like they're not even like the same thing because one of them's a letter, one of them's like all these people before they die, presumably, and then this third one's like, I don't know, it sounds like the historical document Shallan's reading. Like, I don't really understand what's going on.
It's the historical documents. It makes me think of Galaxy Quest. Anyway.
We need your help.
The next one is from Mike, and the title is You All Rock, Heart. Hey, Sanderlanche crew. Greetings from Virginia. I read The Final Empire about a month ago and felt compelled to find a podcast talking about it because I loved it so much. Been a long-time fantasy reader, favorites being the Dresden Files and Malazan, but Brandon may take the cake before it's all said and done. Sorry to ramble about myself, but I've been powering through the Cosmere and listening along with you as I catch up. I'm currently starting The Lost Metal and have really have read everything in the same order as the crew. I'm currently on episode 118 since I can listen while I deliver for Amazon all day. Just wanted to let you guys know you bring me a lot of joy with your podcast. Love you all, and thank you very much. Can't wait to catch up and get into Stormlight. Thanks, Mike.
Man,
being an Amazon delivery driver, that's some work. I appreciate you guys. I get lots of Amazon packages. It's always fun to me to hear someone reading this stuff in the same order that we did, this special order that I came up with for the show. And I'm like, man, do I feel bad for people? Because some of our order is specifically because, like I said, it took us a long time to get from Era 1 to Era 2 of Mistborn. And so I wasn't going to leave Secret History till way later, till like years later, because it's so attached to what happens in Era 1 that I wanted it fresh in your mind. If you're quickly reading through it all, then you can maintain the surprise that Kelsier is still quote unquote alive until after he pops up at the end of Bands of Mourning, where it's like he's like survive, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's Kelsier. So on some level, I feel bad for making an order that people will then follow when you guys don't get those surprises, and we're taking it away from somebody else too. But as long as you're enjoying yourself, Mike.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to read the books.
It's true.
Unless you read book 2 of the series before book 1.
I was
Yeah,
about to say, I was about to say, I mean, you could read them backwards. That would be real confusing.
It's actually funny how often I've seen on Reddit somebody pops up and they're like, yeah, I read like half of Shadows of Self before I realized it wasn't the first book in this series.
Does he put like inside the books, like book 2 of, book 3 of?
I don't recall, and I don't have the physical one on hand to look at. I mean, it's over there on the shelf, but that's the one that I see pop up the most often is like people skip Alloy of Law, not realizing that it exists.
Depending on the edition, because we've got sort of a mismatch of editions on the shelf. Like we've got Final Empire and Hero of Ages both say Mistborn Book 1 or Mistborn Book 3. Well of Ascension does not.
Looking at my digital copy, I don't see like on Shadows of Self like book 2 of the whatever. It says a Mistborn novel, Shadows of Self. Interesting. Yeah. Well, we've actually since then gotten a couple more emails from Mike, but those may be the ones that I save. We're gonna, because they're the later ones that came in. Let's read one or two more here. These are kind of short. The next one is from Fado, which the title is Acknowledging Dak's Humor.
Oh boy.
I just could not let more than a minute pass before I sent an email to congratulate Dak on truly making me guffaw out loud when he noted that elevated toilet humor could be called bidet humor.
I forgot about that.
I don't remember that at all.
Sneakily, one of the funniest moments of the entire podcast. I love the show, so keep on keeping on. Cheers from the Discord, Fado. P.S. Jamie and Joe, you two also rock. Just not enough bidet jokes for an email.
Sure. I gotta step up my bidet joke game. You know.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I gotta say, it's very unlikely you'll get a bidet joke out of me.
I mean, I don't see a lot of bidets in my neck of the woods. I feel like we're pretty heavy toilet paper users around these parts.
I've thought about it before. I've heard lots of stories from people who are like, "Oh, it's like life changing. You should totally get one of these." But it requires a lot of additional
piping,
electric and plumbing work.
Yeah.
So, at least for a good one. Anyway, let's not dive into the depths of bidets. We'll do one more.
Good one.
He didn't even mention me in the email, so I got to get some of that.
Yeah, you got to get some recognition.
We'll do one more. I'm going to skip one, and we'll do one of Mike's other ones because it's shorter. So this one's called The Lost Metal. It says, "Hey, Sanderlanche crew, Mike from Virginia again. Just wanted to say I finished The Lost Metal finally, and I'm currently listening to your episode 142 covering the end and epilogues 1 through whatever. I'm a huge Wayne fan, and the ending made me cry. I am a baby, I know. And I feel so silly listening to the podcast episode. I even started tearing up when Data read, 'I knew you'd glow.' Anyways, I love this book and all of Era 2. Looking forward to getting into Warbreaker. I'm going to skip White Sand, but I will listen to the pod to see what story points I'm missing, just not into graphic novels. At the rate I'm binging both the Cosmere and your podcast, I expect to be caught up in a few more weeks. Thanks for all you do. Everyone in the crew is amazing. Love you guys and gal. Wasing to the time of next."
Yeah. And if you get caught up, you know what? Just start over. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go. So
you're not a baby if you cry over a character you get attached to dying.
Sure.
Like there's nothing wrong with that. Why are people down on that?
Not a thing wrong with that. Been there.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I think
17-year-old Joe, he was choked up when old HP bit the big one for a hot minute. He was like, what the hell's going on?
I was like, wait, Harry doesn't die? Yeah, he does, kind of. I think the first time I read Hero of Ages at the end when like Vin and Ellen are both actually dead, it killed me.
Yeah, that's rough.
Vin in particular. I mean, I liked Ellen also, but Vin, like, I grew really attached to in those books.
Yeah, we don't care about Ellen that much. It's fine.
We've got a couple more emails, but I'm going to save those for next time. Speaking of next time, as I said, we're reading 4 more chapters. That will be chapters 31 through 34. It's a nice big chunk of text that time. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and X and Patreon, which I've already talked about, so I won't go into that again. Thank you, everyone who sends emails, who's on the Patreon, who's on the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, there's a link on our website, www.thesanderlanche.com. Hang out with us there. There's been some spicy stuff happening.
Spicy?
Yeah, at some point not long ago, we had to open like a not safe for work channel for people to have some not safe for work discussions, and so things have there's some interesting stuff going on there.
Okay, well, as long
But
as
anyway,
there's no dinosaur erotica, I'm on board.
I'm
Yeah,
not
no.
making any promises. There's not.
Oh god.
Oh dear.
But yes, so 4 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. Check us out online. Find us all the places you find podcasts. If you're already listening to this, you already know where to find it. It's fine. You don't need me to tell you. And Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, T.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy.
Ghost of